Welcome back to the Talk Yours podcast. It is currently 11:30 on February 5th, 2026, which means it's the perfect time to talk trade deadline and hoops in general, right? Late night?
Yeah,
Is that the best time to do it? When your brain kind of stops working and your eyes start drifting apart, so keep an eye out for it.
That makes for a better podcast anyway.
Yeah, you know? Anyway, we're going to be talking about the trade deadline. It was kind of a ridiculous trade deadline in a lot of ways. I feel like everyone that wasn't supposed to get traded got traded, and everyone that was supposed to get traded didn't get traded.
It feels complete but underwhelming at the same exact time.
And everyone that bought sold, or should have bought sold, and everyone that should have sold bought. It was just weird. There was a bunch of stuff happening, and it really did seem like a lot of teams are looking at this trade deadline as a way to prepare for next year, kind of a pseudo off season. So really interesting how teams treated it, and we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to get through, or try to get through, all of the significant trades, all of the significant players that didn't get traded. It's going to be a very full podcast, so strap yourself in, grab some popcorn or carrots, or I don't know. What's the popular thing for people to eat now when they're snacking?
Popcorn. I feel like it's always been popcorn or candy, or if you're like me, like potatoes. Not a lot of people are like me though. I'm a little different.
All right, grab your popcorn and your wetsuit because we're diving in.
Ew. Okay, let's go. First trade that happened. This is not first. We're actually going in order of most important to least important, at least in my opinion, or around that area. Anthony Davis was traded to the Washington Wizards, which was like the most surprising thing ever. No one thought that the Washington Wizards were going to buy at the deadline, especially because of how bad they are. But I guess it makes a little bit of sense with Trae Young. The full trade was the Dallas Mavericks received Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, who was later traded for Tyus Jones, Marvin Bagley, a 2026 OKC first, so the 30th pick next year, or this year, most likely, and then a 2030 Warriors first round pick, top 20 protected, and 3 second round picks. So 2 first round picks, 2 most likely bad first round picks, and 3 second round picks for Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum. What do you think, Cam? What's your first thoughts? What were you thinking? Actually, I know what you were thinking. I was there, but go ahead and tell everyone else.
My first thoughts, and you know that I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't like this trade for the Mavs. But my first thought is, wow, that's what they got for Luka. Like you can't even look at this as Anthony Davis. By the way, they had to trade multiple players with Anthony Davis in order to get this package, which included Jaden Hardy, who I think is a solid young player who can develop even more, especially given the opportunities he's going to have on the Wizards, hopefully. I mean, I guess it is a crowded backcourt. But looking at this trade, it really just is shocking to me how little the Mavericks got for a top 5 guy in the NBA, when top 5 guys in the NBA don't get traded very often. They looked to buy in, and this is what buying in looks like. Basically a year later, because the AD was traded a year to the date almost that Luka was traded for AD. So that was that's really my thought. That's my most prevalent thought. My next thought is that given how bad these first round picks are, this is basically the same package that the Warriors, gave up for Gary Payton II, along with, Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, but you're also giving up D'Lo, Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum. So not really that impressive of a package. And I don't know. I don't know what either team is attempting to get out of this, really. I mean, I guess I can understand why the Wizards would trade for Anthony Davis to pair him with Trae Young. It does create a somewhat competitive team next year. And they do play in the East, so there is a better chance of them getting a good regular season record, getting a good seed in the playoffs, having a better chance to make a run. For the Mavs, what do you get out of this? An aging Chris Middleton, a Malachi Branham, who you just traded for Tyus Jones anyway, who's like decent, but nothing crazy. Marvin Bagley, who's, again, decent, a backup big, and AJ Johnson, who could develop into something, but hasn't shown that consistently. And this is what you have said we're going to put around Cooper Flagg. At this point in time, if this was the package on the table, I would have preferred them keep Anthony Davis. I got to be completely honest with you.
I could see a world where I agree, but I kind of do think Anthony Davis is a negative asset. But I do see a scenario where Trae Young actually elevates AD. He can't elevate the health concerns, of course. But just in terms of fit, Trae Young and AD will be an elite pick and roll duo. I mean, we saw the very little amount of games that Kristaps Porzingis played with Trae Young, and Porzingis played it amazing. I kind of like this as a win-win a little bit. The more I think about it, because on one hand, from the Mavericks perspective, I do see that the AD is a negative asset and he doesn't fit that well with Cooper Flag. So getting at least anything for him is great. Obviously, he's AD. You want to get more, but it's better than just holding on to him, because I only think, even though this is only almost nothing, his value is only going to depreciate as time goes on. So maybe waiting till the offseason is a bad move. And then from the Wizards perspective, there is never a perfect time to buy in and contend. Like, there will always already be contenders existing. And the Wizards currently have a bunch of young guys on small contracts. So you combine Trey and AD's big contracts with all these small contracts, making a complete team. I think they can kind of compete. Also, they're still like Alex Sarr. I don't think he's hurt or anything. He didn't play today. So they're still going to be resting players and trying to lose to get a top pick. So you have the core right now, plus let's say like a AJ Dybonsa or Boozer or whatever, plus AD, plus Trey Young. This could be a pretty good team. So I kind of like it as a win-win for both. Are we grading? Should we grade each trade or the side? Because personally, I would give the Mavericks like a C, which isn't the worst thing in the world for how bad of a package they got. And I'd probably give the Wizards like a B. Like, yeah, I kind of see AD as a negative contract, but you gave up literally nothing. AJ Johnson sucked for you guys. Every other player, no value. A 30th overall pick and a top 20 protected pick. That's nothing.
I'd give the Wizards a B plus here. The only reason it's not an A is really just the injury concerns with Anthony Davis and the fact that D'Lo and Dante Exum could be negligible assets. But Jaden Hardy's a solid young player who, like I said, I think has more opportunity and more room to develop. And Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, is still Anthony Davis. He's a valuable asset when he can stay on the court. For the Mavericks, I'm going to be honest, I'm really tempted to give this an F. Because I'm looking at the contracts. AJ Johnson is the only redeeming quality that this entire trade has for them. They might not even get one of the first round picks. This other first round pick is going to be the worst one out of this year's draft. And then 3 second round picks. Now, yes, can you flip those into something? Sure. Are those high value assets? No. And then Chris Middleton, expiring contract. Malachi Branham, expiring contract, who they traded for Tyus Jones, who's also on an expiring contract. Marvin Bagley, expiring contract. AJ Johnson's the only guy they have any sort of control over in the future. This trade just doesn't make any sense to me for the Mavs. It just reeks of the fact that Anthony Davis's trade value has slowly been diminished over the course of the year as the Mavs have sought to trade him and not been able to get the package they want for him because, hey, guess what? It turns out that Anthony Davis has less trade value than Luka Doncic. Who knew? And then
I think you're just attaching the Luka trade.
But it's not just the Luka. It's not. You can. You absolutely can.
AD is a negative asset.
But they traded Luka Doncic for AD, basically straight up.
But I don't like the idea of, like, I think they just kind of took the L on it. I mean, they fired Nico Harrison, the guy who made the trade.
They did now, but you can look in it in the whole scope. And even in the scope of this trade, you traded Anthony Davis, a guy who, when healthy, plays to the level of a top 10, top 15 player in the NBA, for an unproven rookie, 3 expiring contracts, 2 first-round picks that are essentially second-round picks, and 3 second-round picks.
See, I think I'd rather have the clear cap and then sign someone in free agency.
Who?
Than getting AD.
Because what
AD doesn't
we looked
play.
at their
AD,
we looked at their cap. They still have a lot of cap left just between the contracts that they already have on books.
I mean, so now they have even more flexibility. Imagine having this terrible basketball team that they have next year with AD and you're a second apron team. Like, that's pretty insane. So now you're clearing the cap. I seriously think AD, he is getting paid $60 million a year, and will he play 40 games this season? Will he play 40 games next season?
The crazy thing is they drafted Cooper Flag, and there was this whole idea of, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flag, and Anthony Davis. And all they had to do was just wait. All they had to do was wait for next year and see what it looked like. Because I actually think it could have been pretty good. But they didn't wait at all. They never allowed the team to formulate the way that they had planned to either.
I don't like the idea of waiting for things to formulate, which is another topic. I don't want to go ahead and get into the Rockets, but the Rockets didn't make a single move, and the GM did a presser. I think it's Raphael Stone. And he said that, like, it's just not our year. I don't like that whole idea. I think you could always try and compete right now, unless you're seriously trying to tank. And if they are trying to tank and get that first round pick or the highest overall pick that they can get, then they shouldn't be. They should be building more toward Cooper Flag and this guy versus an Anthony Davis and Kyrie. And we don't know how good Kyrie's going to be post injury.
But there's also no guarantee that the Mavs get one of those top guys in the draft. Like, we can say that they can tank and try to get one of those guys, and if they get one of those guys and pair him with Cooper Flag, yeah, that's a pretty good pairing. Like, I like the timeline of that a lot, but we have no guarantee that that's going to happen. We've seen plenty of teams finish as the worst team in the league and end up with the 5th pick, which in this draft does not guarantee you one of those
Even
top
if they
3
don't
players.
get a really, really high pick, they're still going to try and go in a younger direction. I think that's what I like. Cooper Flag is the youngest guy in the NBA, and he's
I like going in a younger direction. I do. But the only thing going in a younger, basically, you're saying that trading Anthony Davis and these 3 players for the picks in AJ Johnson is good for going in a younger direction. Jaden Hardy and AJ Johnson are basically the same age.
But with this new cap, they could potentially get someone younger. I think that's the whole thing. It's the cap flexibility. I mean, that's really, when you look at most of these trades and you realize, why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Like the whole Luke Kennard's getting traded and Vic Krejci's and for Duop Reith and all that. It's all for cap stuff. So you got to kind of keep some of this in mind that these owners are doing. And I know we're grading it from a basketball sense, but we can also realize that $60 million for a dude who doesn't play on the court is a bad contract. It's a negative contract. So doing anything to get rid of it is going in a positive direction, because he has like 2 more years after this. You don't want 2 more years of AD. The Wizards might. Maybe they believe, and maybe they have a little bit more reason to believe, because when they are on the court, at least Trey and AD is ideally a perfect fit together. Cooper Flag and AD, they're not even an amazing fit together. They can work, sure. But I don't think it's worth $60 million on the books, because that, like, at the end of the day, that $60 million is getting replaced with $2 million, because AJ Johnson's under contract. Everyone else is not under contract. Now I'm paranoid. I'm going to make sure it's recording. But we can move on to, we can just have split take.
I'll give it a D plus. All right, we're gonna move on to the next trade, and this is one that formulated seemingly overnight. James Harden was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a 2nd-round pick. So pretty much just a player-for-player swap with 1 pick thrown in there.
Reportedly, James Harden did not request a trade. I can kind of see it, but I kind of can't. I do think it was probably mutual, that both just wanted to have Harden be traded, because, I believe the report that they couldn't agree on an extension. Apparently, the Clippers, after investing all this money into their new arena, don't want to pay James Harden, who's a borderline all-star, $40 million a year. I think that's a little bit crazy, because I think he was offered 2 years. I think it was like 2 years, $80 million. That's what the report says. But that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, it is a little bit crazy. I know he's getting up there in age. I think he's 36 years old, but still, he'll be 37 by next year. He's still playing at a really high level.
He's barely showed any signs of regressing.
He's showed some signs of regressing. But let's not say barely showed signs of regressing. He's not. He was never been the most efficient guy in his career, but he's only shooting 41% from the field over the last 2 years. So
you see some of these guys he's playing with, and yeah, he's regressed a little bit, but he's still that guy. And the Clippers have been on fire. They've been on a roll, and it seems like we'll talk about a different trade later, but it seems like they sold their whole team. But yeah, 1-for-1 swap, James Harden for Darius Garland and a 2nd-round pick. While I think it's crazy that the Clippers were willing to give up Harden, I've kind of eased up on, I like Darius Garland. We can talk about him being injury prone, and he is, but he did play over 70 games last year, which is something you can't say about a lot of guys that we've talked about being injury prone. And Darius Garland has showed he can play at an all-star caliber level. And I think he will most likely actually show that on the Clippers versus having to share that backcourt with Donovan Mitchell.
And I think the thing is too, he can play in a situation where he doesn't have to be in the super small backcourt tandem, and he also doesn't have to be playing with another super ball dominant guy. I really do like this for Darius Garland and for the Clippers. You go in a younger direction. And is Darius Garland ever going to be as good as James Harden was in his prime? No. Is Darius Garland potentially going to be as good, if not better, than James Harden has been in the last 3 years for the Clippers? I think he could be, for sure. He could be a more efficient version of what James Harden has been, and that's, I think, what the Clippers want to move in the direction of, and also move in a bit of a younger direction. They kind of showed that with some of their moves that they made, which we'll get to another one of their moves later, but kind of going in a younger direction, which is interesting given that Kawhi they held on to, and he's getting up there in age and still playing at a high level. You'd think they'd want to win now more, but Darius Garland is still a win now player. Yeah, I don't think he's this sort of project or anything like that.
And then for the Cavs side, they get James Harden for Garland. I don't know how I feel about this. I'd give the Cavs probably like a C plus, maybe like a C, because while I think they got a little bit better in talent, I just wish that if they traded Garland or they traded Allen or Mobley, I wanted them to get someone who fits more, who's less talented but fits more. Because we talked about before the season, talent-wise, you go talent for talent, player for player, this is like one of the most talented teams.
But they got someone who's more talented and fits less.
Yeah, I think he fits a little bit less. I mean, I do like Harden being able to hit Mobley and Jared Allen in the right spots a little bit better. But besides that, like I was kind of hoping they got a wing. And I understand that Jalen Tyson has grown to be a good wing, but like what other good wing do they have? It's supposed to be Lonzo Ball playing the three, and he just got waived. Traded and waived. So I really don't like this. Also, you're getting a little bit older. I mean, if bringing James Harden is what attracts LeBron James in free agency, then sure, this is great. But we won't know this for now. I don't know how much. Like part of me, because you hear the name James Harden and you think, wow, this is an upgrade. I don't know how much of an upgrade it is. I'd probably give it like a C for the Cavs. And then for the Clippers, getting Darius Garland when you don't have a lot of your picks or you have pick swaps in the upcoming future with that OKC Thunder trade and then just a couple other trades you made. I like them getting younger. I like them kind of going in a direction that says, hey, we'll still be with you, Kawhi, but we're going to also think about the future. And I just do think that the ceiling of the ceiling of Darius Garland can be higher than what James Harden is now, easily, actually. So I'd give the Clippers probably an A-. I really like this. I know Garland's injury prone, but I feel like a lot of those have been kind of freak accidents, and it is a little bit overblown how injury prone he is. So I like this for the Clippers.
For the Cavs, I'll give this a B-. Now, I think it will depend on how much James Harden can buy into the idea of playing this role, but with how as good as Donovan Mitchell has been this year in the pressure that he's been under defensively, putting a guy next to him who can put him in better positions to get easy shots is a great thing. And James Harden can definitely do that, and he can definitely find open shooters. And Donovan Mitchell's been shooting more than well enough from three in order to validate that sort of approach to the game and getting him open shots and not having him always have to work with the ball in his hands. But yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. James Harden's a guy who dominates the ball when he's in the game, and Donovan Mitchell is a guy who dominates the ball when he's in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance those minutes. I imagine we're going to see a lot of minutes with either one of James Harden or Donovan Mitchell on the floor.
I don't like backcourt duos that can't defend. I think that's the real reason I don't like this trade.
And I could get that. I can get behind that.
It's not a recipe to win in the playoffs.
But the size matches up a little bit better now between Harden and Mitchell, at least.
Yeah, we just got to hope Harden puts in effort, because I've seen Garland at least put in effort. I understand sometimes with the size, it doesn't matter how much effort you put in.
Harden can too, though. I mean, we've seen Harden be a good defender at times, so
I hope he
just
that.
has to.
Hopefully, Mobley brings that out of him.
And for the Clippers, I'll give this, and I'll also give this an A-. I think this is a really solid trade for them. I think they move in a direction that allows them to build towards their future a little bit. It puts Darius Garland in a role where he can be kind of a number one guy, maybe even a couple years down the line, if not sooner, depending on Kawhi's regression and his timeline, although that guy doesn't look like he's regressing at all right now. And yeah, I mean, you get younger, and I think you get a little bit better fit too. So I like this a lot for the Clippers.
Okay, then we can move on to the strangest and most surprising trade I think that happened, because there was no rumors of this at all. The Utah Jazz got Jaren Jackson Jr. They got Jaren Jackson Jr., John Conchar, Jock Landale, who was later traded, and Vince Williams. And the Grizzlies received Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Georges Niang, a 2027 Lakers first, the most favorable of a 2027 first between Minnesota, Utah, and Cleveland, and a Suns 2031 first. I personally do believe that sometimes draft picks can be a little bit overrated, especially if you're trading for a guy who has proven value. But I don't know how much I like this for the Utah Jazz, because my first thought was, why are the Jazz trying to buy when they are so bad? Can you say that the Jazz are a better team than their record says? Maybe, especially with the injury of Walker Kessler. But I think you are really buying into how good Walker Kessler is with this trade.
And also that Walker Kessler is going to stay.
And that he's going to stay. I think that you are playing it really risky, trying to get a really tall 3 through 5 of Larry Markkinen. Sorry, 2 through 5 of Ace Bailey, Larry Markkinen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler.
Yeah, it's just the shooting.
seems
It's
like a
just
very-
the shooting Raptors. Like,
Yeah, it seems very slow-footed in my opinion. So we'll see how much, especially how much it translates to winning playoff basketball. Now, I will say the more I've thought about this trade, because it's been a couple of days, I do understand that, like I said earlier with the Wizards, there's no perfect time to start trying to contend because there's always going to be really, really good contending teams. You can't just wait until there's the perfect time. Perfect time is always probably now because injuries can always happen. So I understand the aspect of the Jazz have really good young players like Keontae George, like Larry Markkinen, not really young, but yeah. They have Ace Bailey, they have Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski. They have all these guys, and they're going to get another one hopefully this year, unless they keep winning because OKC has their pick protected 1 through 8. Well, the Jazz would be getting it 1 through 8.
right.
So I do understand. I just don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. is that guy. Is he a great defender? Sure. But I'll just never believe in a 6'11" guy who can't get a rebound. A guy who plays the center position and can't get a rebound. If you think he'll get rebounds now, like he's at the center position, he's averaging 6 rebounds a game. He's about to go down to like 4 at 6'11".
Which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, the Jazz basically traded guys that they're not even really playing right now for a guy that is definitely going to be in their starting lineup and going to be their second or third offensive option. So
Yeah, so that's fair. You know, obviously it's only going to make their team better.
like at the end of the day, I looked at this from the perspective of obviously trades, you're giving up something, but from the perspective of a free agency signing, if the Jazz signed Jaren Jackson Jr. in free agency, we'd be like, oh, that's a pretty good signing, right? And if the Jazz lost Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, and Georges Niang in free agency, well, people may not bat an eye, except maybe at Walter Clayton Jr. because he's a rookie. So in reality, the Jazz, they're giving away some first-round picks that one of them is technically theirs if it ends up being the best one of the Minnesota, Utah, and Cleveland in 2027. But at the end of the day, they're really not giving up much. They're getting a really good player back. I think it's a fine trade. It's odd because why are the Jazz trying to buy in? But like you said, there's never a perfect time to. If you can get talent, you get talent.
I just don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. is that one guy away. When you say, "Oh, we're one guy away from being a contending team," I just don't.
No,
think it's Jaren.
they're multiple guys away, but you're also counting on Keontae to continue to get better. You're counting on Ace Bailey to get better after what has been a bit of a slow start in his rookie season. You're counting on Walker Kessler to get healthy. You know, there's a lot of young players on the Jazz still too that they are looking at and saying, if these guys can continue to improve, then we've got something really, foundational here that we can build upon. And Jaren Jackson Jr. only adds to that.
I just believe in some of these young guys like Walter Clayton, like Taylor Hendricks, who, by the way, you said besides Walter Clayton because he's a rookie, I think Taylor Hendricks is probably younger than Walter Clayton Jr. And he's played way less because he had that year-long injury, unfortunately, with I think he broke his leg or some sort of leg injury. I just believe it. And then, by the way, we didn't talk from the Grizzlies' perspective. I mean, go ahead and sell. You already got 5 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. Go ahead and get 3 for Jaren Jackson Jr. Get some young guys. Build around, this Cedric Coward, Zach Edey kind of core. Does it sound great? No, but they're another team who can win the draft lottery potentially. They can sell on Ja. And we'll talk about Ja Morant later not being traded because that's pretty insane. But Grizzlies side, I'm giving it an A-. I think I'm A. I'm giving it an A. You know what? I wouldn't have done anything more except try to get more assets, I guess. But I still think Walter Clayton and Hendricks have some value.
Yeah, I think it's
and then 3 first-round picks.
I do think it's still a pretty solid return for JJJ. Even though, like, when I was looking at it from the Jazz perspective, it's like these are guys that they're not utilizing. These are guys that the Grizzlies could utilize, right? I'm not saying that these are valueless players. These are guys that could, especially Walter Clayton Jr. and Taylor Hendricks, could be pretty good. And, it's not like those are valueless pieces. And then the first-round picks, at least that most favorable of Minnesota, Utah, and Cleveland in 2027 should be pretty good. And that Suns 2031 pick should be pretty good too. Well, I mean, we don't know, but
and you never know. The Lakers could be bad.
Lakers could be bad. I doubt it with Luka, but
if they decide to pay LeBron James $50 million, and I don't know, that's using up a lot of cap, but they do have Luka Doncic.
So I'll give the Grizzlies, I'll give them an A-, and I'll give the Jazz a B.
I'll give them a C. I just don't. If you're gonna buy in, I just don't believe in it being Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah. Okay, we can move on. to a trade that has to do with two of our favorite teams. Both of our favorite teams traded for. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
The Hawks got Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis. How do you feel, Cam?
I think I feel good about this trade overall. I mean, let's just face it. As much as I like Jonathan Kuminga, he wasn't getting minutes. And Buddy Hield is a good bench shooter, but Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, is a starting caliber, borderline all-star center. I do like the talent that we're getting back in this trade. Obviously, you're also getting back a lack of availability, but if you're trading a guy who's been a DNP for a lot of this season and also has been hurt at times, and a guy who's a bench player for a starting center who might be a DNP sometimes, but might also play sometimes, it's kind of like, yeah, I get it on a player for player basis.
You just have to hope he plays minutes.
Yeah, you just have to hope he plays. That's really it. If he does, then the Warriors definitely got what they wanted out of this trade. And the Hawks got a young player who has a lot of potential to develop, and it'll be interesting to see if he does. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he's playing for minutes next to Jalen Johnson and Zachary Risache and these good wings that the Hawks have. They replaced Luke Kennard with Buddy Hield. So, I mean...
Who, by the way, Luke Kennard's having such a better season. It's kind of insane.
Even though these are our two teams, I kind of don't have a lot to say. I'm kind of like, I'll give both teams a B.
I'll go ahead and say my piece then. Kristaps Porzingis, you were so good when you were on the court, but I really do hate you. You played like 13 games. He probably played less than 33% of games with no definitive injury. Mm-hmm. This like mystery disease that he has, like it's really starting to piss me off. Some people are saying it could be AIDS. Those rumors have been going around with Porzingis for years, and are they true? It's not. It's not my. It's not up to me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving no diagnosis, but I will say I hate Porzingis for that. And Jonathan Kuminga, I'm bought in. You know what? You want to know why? Because the Atlanta Hawks played today, and we barely beat the Utah Jazz, and Zachary Risache went 0 for 8 with 2 turnovers, and one of the turnovers was a 3-on-1 fast break that he just completely messed up. I'm not completely bought out on Risache. If you look at his like overall for the season stats, they're not that bad, but like before, when the trade first happened, I'm like, Kuminga might be better off coming off the bench. We need to start Risache. He's the better fit, and that's still true, but like we need another wing for the future. Our only wing, like a true wing, really is Jalen Johnson, and that's it. Besides Risache. So Kuminga might get that starting spot. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity in Atlanta.
I hope so. I really do love Kuminga, and I really think he can be a very good
and I think what
player.
He's being played through, as in like he's not in this like Warrior system. He's just doing his own thing, like in the playoffs versus the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. He hoops. He's a good player.
I'm really excited to see him in this role.
And especially with the new center that the Hawks got, Jock Landale, who had a career high in points in his first Hawks game. He had 26 points in his Hawks debut.
That's actually hilarious. He had 26
Cam,
points.
if you haven't been, because I know Cam's been at work, and I've been watching like a little bit. Jock Landale drove last night 5.5 hours from Memphis to Atlanta because he said, I want to get to Atlanta as soon as possible, even though the Hawks offered a flight for the next morning. He drove 5.5 hours to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then had 26 points.
This dude's not only, he had 26 points on 10 for 14 shooting, 5 for 8 from 3, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks.
Dude, I'll be honest. I'm a casual. I have not been watching Jock Landale. That dude's jumper looks like a guard. Like, I'm not going to say it goes in as much as the guards, but I mean, you're seeing it right there. It kind of does. But like,
the way he shoots
over like a big man.
Over the last 2 years, he's shot 42.5 or 42.3% from 3 and 38% from 3.
All this to say that if you're going to play next to Jalen Johnson, who's not a bad floor spacer, but also next to Dyson Daniels, if Jock Landale's the one starting, or like an Onyeka who is shooting the 3-ball a lot, Kuminga can do his thing in the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's a buy low, and I mean, Porzingis, we just weren't going to re-sign in the offseason anyway. He has an expiring contract, so why not get Kuminga, who also we have a team option for. If we don't like him, we could just decline it, and then nothing comes of this Porzingis thing.
No, at the end of the day, it's like Kuminga's value is tanked anyway for the Warriors, and that's kind of the way I look at it too, where it's like we got Kristaps Porzingis for a guy that we just seemingly couldn't even trade Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, so it's just two guys on expiring contracts, and then Buddy Hield, who only has $3 million guaranteed after this year. So it's pretty much an expiring contract.
Yeah,
But
but sad to see Buddy Hield go.
I'll give the Hawks a B plus for it. I'll give the Warriors a B minus.
And I'm just going B's both ways. I think both teams got what they wanted out of the trade, and I don't think it's guaranteed to work out for either of them.
All right, cool. These next two trades, I don't think I've heard anything. Like, me and Cam haven't talked about it at all, so I'm curious to see what you think. Zubac gets traded to the Indiana Pacers. Him and Kobe Brown to the Pacers. The Clippers receive Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, a 2026 Pacers first, which is protected not only 1 through 4, but also 10 through 30. A 2029 unprotected Pacers first round pick and a second round pick. And pretty much that pick, if it does not convert, meaning it landed in 1 through 4 or 10 through 30, then it turns into a 2031 unprotected first from the Pacers. So, yeah, let's say like the Pacers pick ends up 5 through 9 and the Pacers keep it this year. Or sorry, wait, no.
If it ends up 5 through 9,
No, if it ends
then
up-
the Clippers get it.
Then the Clippers get it, which the Clippers are getting a good pick for Zubac. And then if it ends 1 through 4 or 10 through 30, then they get both the 2029 first and 2031 first of the Pacers. And I know Halliburton is young, but you just never know with a team like Indiana, who's probably not going to get the big time free agents, how good they're going to be 3 years from now and 5 years from now, especially unprotected. But I do love the Pacers getting Zubac. I do think he was one of the best bigs on the market, and they didn't wait until the offseason to get a big man. And there aren't very many good actual centers, actual big men in the draft. So I think this was probably the right way to go. Zubac is really good. I just wonder how much he plays this season. But I think him next to Halliburton is going to be great. The only thing I don't like is the Pacers offense was so good with Miles Turner because he was a stretch big. It's going to be a little different with Zubac not being able to shoot at all. But we'll see how that goes. The Pacers gave up these pretty good picks, but how valuable are picks when you're trying to be a contending team next year? And they gave up Benedict Mathurin. Personally, I'm fine with that. I've never been too high on Benedict Mathurin. I think he's always been just like a high volume scoring guy who really can't do anything else. I really do think he's in like that Cam Thomas type range. So I'm fine with it. And then I don't think it sounded like the Pacers didn't want to pay him anyway. So they were already going to get rid of him. They already didn't have leverage. I like this for Indy. And I do like it for the Clippers as well. I'm not going to grade it yet. I want to hear your thoughts, but what do you think?
At first, when I saw the picks that the Pacers were giving up, I got really concerned because the Pacers are so bad this year. And when you talk about the top guys in this draft, you really want to get them. But then I saw it's protected 1 through 4. And the 10 through 30 is whatever. But I saw it's protected 1 through 4. And to me, yeah, this makes a lot of sense for the Pacers because I agree with what you're saying. Tyrese Halliburton is young, but you don't want to ever wait for a guy to develop. And there are 3 guys in this draft that, like those 3 top guys, I think will come in and make an immediate impact. I think Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsta, and Cam Boozer will come in and make an immediate impact. But beyond that, there's a lot of unknowns in terms of what guys in this draft could bring. And I don't know. I'd rather have a Vita Zubac than a pick 5 through 9 with where the Pacers are at right now. So I like this trade a lot. I like that they got, Tyrese Halliburton, a good center for him to play with, a guy he can run the pick and roll with a lot. And yeah, Benedict Mathurin. I like Benedict Mathurin, but that's from a visually I enjoy watching Benedict Mathurin play perspective. I understand that his place in the league as a exclusive scoring and rebounding guard is not that coveted. So I get why the Pacers trade him and Isaiah Jackson in these picks for Zubac and Kobe Brown. I do like this for both teams. I think the Clippers are stockpiling draft picks, which is good because they did the opposite of that a few years ago, and we've seen how that's worked out for them. So I like this approach of building a little bit more towards the future. You're also potentially getting Darius Garland some help as hopefully he becomes kind of the future of your team, and you're able to get another young guy to go along with him potentially in this year's draft, or you even build more towards the future. So yeah, I do like this for both teams.
Yeah. I'd probably give the Clippers a B plus for this. I really like it for them. I like, them getting the first round picks and going in a younger direction. And you never know with Benedict Mathurin because he will kind of be that number 2, number 3 scoring guy. Maybe he can turn a new leaf. You never know. I'll give the Pacers a B minus. I like Zubac, and I always value high, like very good centers. I just do kind of wish we saw like Halliburton when he's playing with a guy like Miles Turner can get to the rim and can finish at the rim pretty consistently. I just don't know how it'll look like with Zubac. I mean, he can still get to the rim even with an inside center, and Zubac is good at spacing the floor and knowing where to be on the court.
Yeah, Zubac can space it to the mid range too.
I think so. I do kind of wish. I think there was a better fit somewhere else. I think they could have got a better fitting center. But I'll still give him a B minus. I still like the idea. They obviously needed a center, and I didn't like the idea of them drafting a center. So that's better than that.
I'll give the Pacers a B plus, and I'll give the Clippers a B.
Cool.
So
Next trade.
Yeah, next trade. It finally happened. He's finally out of Chicago after years and years of talking about him getting traded. Nikola Vucevic finally got traded to the Celtics, basically one for one for Anthony Simons. Looking at it from the perspective of which players got traded for each other, it does seem a little odd, right? A starting caliber center who's probably a bit more than a starting caliber center, puts up good numbers consistently, does his thing, gets traded for a six man who is a scoring guard on a team full of guards now with the Bulls.
The Bulls piss me off.
I don't see the vision for Chicago at all. Celtics, yeah, great job. You guys got yourself a center, which you desperately needed, and this is going to help you in your playoff push for sure. I don't get what the Bulls are doing here, really.
The problem with this trade is you can't grade it based on just this trade. I think Anthony Simons is really talented. I think he's a good guard, and if he's going to be your sixth man or even like your starting guard next to a better defender or whatever, that's great. Not only does the fit suck next to Josh Giddey, but they also traded for like 5 other guards. So
yeah, they also got like Colin Sexton, Jaden Ivey, Rob Dillingham.
They already have Josh Giddey. They already have Trey Jones. I don't see the vision. I think they even got one more guard.
The Bulls might have been the most active team at the trade deadline, and they just traded for the same player like 5 times.
Yeah. So the Bulls side, I respect Anthony Simons. I think he's good. I mean, on the Blazers, he averaged 20 a game, and
I mean, look at it this way: one of these guys has to work out, right? Like you're guaranteeing that you're going to get at least one of those types of players that's going to work out, I guess. So
I think that's stupid. So
I think it's stupid too.
From the Bulls' perspective, that's like Simons is good. I'll give him a D plus. It's not an F, but yeah. And then from the Celtics' perspective, I think Vucevic is a good center. If you just don't ask him to do too much and you only want him to play in spurts, I mean, they have a guy in Keta that's really good. So I'd honestly split their minutes, Vucevic and Keta. And yeah, I think it's kind of a buy low. I mean, I think Vucevic might be expiring. I like it from the Celtics perspective. I'm not that high on Vucevic. Don't get me wrong. I like defensive centers, not offensive centers, but like I think the Celtics have a good defensive system with Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum coming back. They have other good defenders off the bench. What's his name? The rookie that I always glaze. But
yeah,
so I like Vucevic. I think it's kind of a buy low, and I think you can kind of move Peyton Pritchard back to that sixth man, so you don't need Simons anymore.
Yeah, I think this is a great role. I think especially this also shows to me that they're expecting Jason Tatum back this year.
Yeah,
I think they're confident that they're going to be moving Peyton Pritchard to that 6-man role. I like this a lot. I give this an A for the Celtics. I think they gave up Anthony Simons, who's a good player, but someone who doesn't maybe fit their long-term roster goals, and they gave him up in a role that he's going to be replaced in soon, hopefully, if Jason Tatum comes back from injury and Peyton Pritchard gets moved back to that bench role for a center, which they were going to need regardless. So I really like this. For the Bulls, yeah, D+. I think I like Anthony Simons a lot, but it just within the context of the other trades they made, which I mean, that kind of means I don't want to spend too much time talking about their side on some of these other ones, because I think it's just going to be more of the same of like, why the hell did you trade for 4 guards? But
yeah, I think so. I think the one I think I want to talk about with this trade versus some of the others is like, Anthony Simons doesn't have too much more potential. We know who he is. He is a 6-man type of guy. He's a good scorer. He can play make a little bit. We know who he is. I just don't know why the Bulls would need someone like that versus the other guys at least have potential. So yeah, Bulls, I'd give a D plus. Celtics, I'll give a B plus because it's not too high because I'm not too high on Vucevic. Oh yeah, I was doing that way before. We can fix it in a second. Oh, there we go. Just keep it like that. And then, I'm not too high on Vucevic, but he is a solid center. So
Yeah.
next trade is one that personally me and Cam were both baffled at. The OKC Thunder received Jared McCain and traded to the Philadelphia 76ers the 2026 first round pick via the Rockets, which is currently 24th right now as of this morning. I don't know what it is right now. And then 3 second round picks. They traded Jared McCain, who was the leader in Rookie of the Year last year up until his injury, for the 24th pick and 3 second round picks. Literally nothing. And personally, I'm not surprised that they traded Jared McCain because he isn't really in the rotation right now. And the Philadelphia 76ers should be trying to contend. However, one, if you're trying to contend, you should make a trade for a player who's going to be in the rotation, which they didn't do. You shouldn't need the 24th pick in the draft. And Jared McCain, I just think he could have gone for more from like any other team. You're telling me other teams weren't trying to buy in on Jared McCain? Now, part of me kind of believes it because I don't know. The Bulls are hogging all the guards, so teams need guards. So I just think McCain should have had more value, and the 24th pick isn't doing it. For the Thunder, I love it. The Thunder get an offensive guy who can hopefully buy in on defense, but the Thunder don't have very many offensive guys, shooters at least. McCain's been 40% from 3 this season, even though he's been struggling overall. His 3-pointer's been there, and that's what the Thunder need. Cam, you can go on your own little tangent, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I give the Thunder an A+. They don't need all these damn picks, and I'm going to give the Sixers a D-.
Yeah, I'm not even going to beat around the bush with it. Thunder get an A+, 76ers get an F. This is horrible. This is actually a horrible. This makes no sense to me. Why would you trade Jared McCain, a second-year player who was first in Rookie of the Year, who has been shooting since I think January, like 45, 48 splits?
How come when I look up Jared McCain on Google, the first thing is him shirtless?
Hey, that's your algorithm, not mine.
I don't think that.
Let me look up Jared McCain on mine.
It is. Okay. Yeah. Don't.
Never mind.
Oh, you're snarky joke. It was funny, but I don't get it.
Okay. All right. But no, this is horrible. And I mean, the Thunder, yeah, good on you. You once again, just completely fleece somebody, right? Because they got a pick that it was going to be a player that just ended up sitting at the end of their bench, and they flipped it for exactly what they need, which is a scorer. So, like a scoring guard.
He's speechless.
Daryl Morey is just so stupid sometimes. Like, I genuinely, like, this dude's, I don't know why I'm looking up Daryl Morey. I want to, like, look at his, like, trade history, but that's such a dumb thing to, like, try to pull up right now. But sometimes this dude just makes the dumbest moves for no reason. Are you clearing cap by trading away your second-year player? Like,
they didn't bring anyone in. They're also thinking of either waiving or trading Andre Drummond, and nothing came of that.
This dude better, like, I'm going to be honest, like, obviously Harden didn't win in those years with Houston, but Daryl Morey should thank God that James Harden is such an easy player to build a good team around. Maybe not a championship team, but a good team. Yeah. All you have to do is put shooters and defenders around him, and that's it.
And that's what he did.
That's all he had to do. Yeah.
Next trade, Kobe White was traded to the Hornets for pretty much nothing. The Bulls received Ousmane Dieng, who was later traded to the Bucks for Nick Richards, meaning they didn't even value Ousmane Dieng. And then they traded for Colin Sexton, another guard, and 3 second-round picks. The Hornets win this trade. Kobe White's a great player. I think he's slightly better, and he's younger than Colin Sexton. I'm not even going to say it slightly. He's a good amount better. I think I'm pretty confident with both as a sixth man, but I'm way more confident with Kobe White. And it just kind of sucks. Like I kind of wish Kobe White went to a team where he'd be getting more usage probably, because the thing about the Hornets is their whole starting lineup is so good. They really don't need much from their bench. So I wonder how many minutes Kobe White does play. Because like if you look at by the way, Hornets killing it recently. I think they're on like a 9-game win streak right now. their starting lineup on off numbers are insane. Like, they don't need a bench because their starting lineup kills any other lineup in the NBA.
They're on an 8-game win streak, which is tied with the Knicks for the best in the league, and they are 9-1 in their last 10 games, which is the best in the league.
So yeah, I forget who the Hornets traded for Ousmane Dieng, but they pretty much traded nothing for Kobe White and then Mike Conley, who they ended up waiving.
Yeah.
So that's a great. I'm giving them an A because Kobe White's a great player. And then the Bulls, it would make a little bit of sense to me if they were one trying to move Colin Sexton after, which they didn't, or if they thought, hey, this guy was drafted 12th overall and has gotten no run because he's been on the best team in the NBA. Let's believe in Ousmane Dieng. And then no, they traded him to the Bucks for Nick Richards, meaning yes, you're replacing Vucevic, but they're still trying to do this weird play-in thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a center, don't get me wrong, but like you could have made any other move for a different center and tried to keep the young guy, the young wing. No, they still only have one wing on their team.
The Bulls just...
Or maybe two.
When have the Bulls... An interesting question to ask. Have the Bulls committed to a rebuild since like Derrick Rose? Like truly committed to a rebuild?
I feel like there was 1 year. Well, the thing is, they were kind of rebuilt. Not like, maybe not truly committed, but they were kind of rebuilding every year. Do you remember, dude, they got the 7th overall pick or like the 8th overall pick like 4 years straight. Because it was Wendell Carter, it was Kobe White, it was, who was in 2019? I think 2019 was Kobe White. 2018 was, who did they get in 2018? I feel like they got some.
It was, so 18-19 is the year where they were the worst. So the 2019 draft... Who would they have got in
They got
this
Kobe
draft?
White.
They got Kobe White?
Yeah, they did.
So they just traded the guy that they...
And then I think 18 was Wendell Carter.
I mean, like, listen to these records, right? Let's go all the way back to
Oh, no, it's only 2 years
0405.
straight.
So 47 wins, 41 wins, 49 wins, 33 wins, 41, 41, 62, 50, 45, 48, 50, 42, 41. Sounds like James Harden scoring averages. 27, 22, 22, 31, 46, 40, 39, 39. And then this year, you know, they're not done yet. But
I
they're
think
basically
they kind of
500.
did do a decent rebuild, but they didn't draft well, which is most of the rebuild.
I mean, okay, I said 22 for 2019, 2020, but they did only play 65 games. So their winning percentage was significantly higher than the previous year in which they won 22 games.
So they're just mid. They've
Yeah.
just always been mid. They mess up their draft picks every year. I mean, Kobe White was like a decent pick in 2019, but picking Wendell Carter 7th.
Kobe White was a good pick in 2019. I mean, they picked him over Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, Cam Reddish, Cam Johnson, PJ Washington, Tyler Hero. Like there are a couple of those guys maybe that I would be like, I'd prefer to have him over Kobe White, but it's still
Rather
pretty
have
solid.
Tyler
pick.
Hero, rather have Nikhil.
Yeah, but Nikhil wasn't picked till 17, so it wasn't like, I mean, maybe people were like debating between, I don't remember what the discourse around the draft was at that time, but I do feel like a guy at 7th doesn't need to be compared to a guy at 17.
Man, yeah,
'cause I don't-
2019 was actually a pretty bad draft.
Yeah, you want some Grant Williams or Matisse Thybulle on your team instead?
No. Yeah, I'm good. But I mean, so I guess they just didn't rebuild for long enough. They became like a little bit mid. That's kind of what I am worried about with the Utah Jazz or the Wizards. It's like
Yeah,
what
the
you
Utah
win.
Jazz, the Jazz have been rebuilding for a good few years, and if you just can't hit on your draft picks, you can't hit on your draft picks. Like,
I think if you can't hit on your draft picks, though, you just keep drafting. You do.
but then that's how GMs get fired. So GMs aren't going to do that, right?
I guess, but I don't know. I think they're kind of going to that Bulls route. But yeah, overall,
But yeah, anyway, this trade,
I'm gonna give. Wait, did I already say it?
no.
I'm giving the Bulls because if they moved Colin Sexton for someone, maybe it would make sense. So I'll give them a D plus. No, I'll give them a D minus again. I think I gave them D minus last time. And then the Hornets, yeah, I'm giving them an A.
I'll give the Bulls a D, and I'll give the Hornets a B, just because I'm not sure where Kobe White's going to fit necessarily. I do like the talent
6 man?
addition, but yeah, 6-man. But how many minutes? Again, like you said, because their starting lineup has been so good. But
LaMelo's pretty injury prone. Next trade, Jaden Ivey gets traded to the Chicago Bulls. Him and Mike Conley. I said Mike Conley in the last trade. I don't know. I probably mixed it up.
well, because no, Mike Conley got traded to this one for, like, this is the first Mike Conley trade, and then that other one was the second Mike Conley trade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Ivy and Conley to the Bulls. The Pistons get Kevin Herter, Dario Saric, and then pick 23 in the draft right now, aka a pick swap from the Timberwolves. And then the Timberwolves get cash considerations for Mike Conley. And apparently Mike Conley is going to be waived and he's going to sign back with the Wolves, which is cool, I guess. I actually don't want to see Mike Conley get any playoff minutes. I don't think he's that good anymore. I think he's a small guard who, if you're not really efficient in offensively, or not even just efficient, if you're not really good offensively, then you shouldn't be getting that much playoff time as a 6'1" guard. And I like this for the Bulls. Somehow, I like a trade from the Bulls. They give up Kevin Herter, and that's pretty much it for Jaden Ivey. Yes, buy low on Jaden Ivey. That actually makes sense. Now, it doesn't make sense when you have 6 other guards on your team, but still, let Jaden Ivey, he's going to be, you're going to have to extend him in the offseason. Let him prove himself. Let him prove how much you should pay him. I mean, we've seen when the ball isn't super dominated by Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey has gone off, but this specific season, he has not. The only problem I kind of don't like with this trade is, I mean, yeah, you want to see how Ivy plays on your team and plays next to Giddey, but you always could have just got him in the offseason because the Pistons weren't going to pay him that much. Is any NBA team going to pay Jaden Ivey that much? I think we're kind of seeing with this trade deadline that these offensive guards are not getting valued like they probably should.
And now the Bulls have all of them. Yeah, I give the Bulls a B+. I give the Pistons also a B+, because, like, what did the Pistons even give up?
I'll give the Timberwolves.
I'll give the Timberwolves a you got bored out of 10. Because what even is this? They traded Mike Conley for cash considerations, and me and Corby were both sure that meant they were opening up cap space to make a big trade for like a John Morant or a Giannis, and then Mike Conley's gonna just sign back with you. So you traded him.
Yeah, the Wolves didn't do anything from this, so I'm going to
what?
give them an F because they just went down 6 picks in the draft. That's literally what they did. They would have had the 29th pick, now they have the 23rd. It was a pick swap.
They just got paid to move down in the draft.
Greedy owners, always about that money. The Bulls, I'll give them a B+. Good for them. I'll give the Pistons an A because Jaden Ivey wasn't playing that good. He wasn't going to get very many minutes in the playoffs. You get Kevin Herter. I kind of like the idea of, yes, they already have Duncan Robinson, a 3-point specialist. But what's one thing about a 3-point specialist? They can burn out in the playoffs. They can go to shit. So now you have 2. If Duncan Robinson starts playing bad, you got Herter. And Herter is like less of a specialist.
Yeah.
Like he kind of can drive in a little bit.
And don't get me wrong, I really like Jaden Ivey as a prospect, but in terms of what he was producing for the Pistons as a team that's been number 1 in the East all year, yeah, you can do better.
Yeah, you're giving him nothing. Like I wouldn't think of him as a fourth overall pick. I would think of him as what he is. And then you go up 6 spots in the draft. And I think when you're the Pistons, and they're probably going to draft well.
Corby, I'm so sick of talking about the Bulls, and we're
going to talk about the Bulls again.
More trades.
They have 2. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the other ones, they just kind of somehow wiggled their way into it. But
next trade. The Bulls received Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and 4 second-round picks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves receive Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips.
Stop.
You
have enough guards. Stop.
We don't have to talk about this too much. However, I actually will get the Bulls like an A-. You are buying low on Rob Dillingham, and you are selling high on Ayo Dosunmu, and you are not a contender. Ayo has been great. He's been shooting like 44% from 3, or maybe not that. Maybe like 40% from 3. He's a good defender. And I'm also going to give the Wolves a B-. I love Ayo Dosunmu. I don't love him. I like him. But you did have to trade Rob Dillingham, who you did trade 3 first-round picks for, and Leonard Miller, and 4 second-round picks.
Okay, but using your logic in that we can't use previous trades as reasoning for why these trades are worse, I would give both these teams an A-. Because I think the Timberwolves basically traded a guy that they weren't playing for a guy that fits way better on their team and has been playing way better this year. And the Bulls got a guy who has a lot of young potential and can become sort of your ball dominant guard, scoring guard, which I wonder if they already had one of those and they traded him away. And they, give up Ayo Dosunmu, who, while good, is more of like a tertiary piece than he is a focal point of an offense.
My hot take is in 2 years from now, both of these Bulls players will be better than Ayo Dosunmu. So that's the reason that I don't have the Wolves. I do think the Wolves should get the player who's better right now, but I am delusionally high on Leonard Miller. I've always been, and I will never sell stock until the player dies or retires. And Rob Dillingham is a guy who I think can be good, but the Wolves just never actually prioritized. I think it's stupid that I actually like Bones Highland has been playing great and he should get minutes, but Mike Conley should never have been getting minutes over Rob Dillingham. He was supposed to take over his spot this season, and they gave Rob Dillingham such a small leash to make mistakes. And
Yeah, they
I
really
just
did.
I don't like it. So even though he isn't in the rotation and they should be trying to contend, I do think they would have been better off just using Rob Dillingham instead of having him on the bench and then trading him.
Yeah.
So B- for the Wolves, because yes, you are still getting an upgrade technically. And the Bulls, hopefully you just give Rob Dillingham some real run and just cut like Colin Sexton. Cut the other guards. You don't need them. You need Dillingham and you need, who was it? Jane Ivey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you play Leonard Miller.
Yeah.
Next trade, Dennis Schroeder gets traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers alongside Keon Ellis and Emmanuel Miller, who I actually don't know who that is. The Kings receive DeAndre Hunter and the Bulls receive Sarge and 2 second-round picks. We don't have to talk about the Bulls. The Cavs receive Dennis Schroeder. I just do think it's kind of weird. I understand Hunter wasn't the best, and I think he kind of wanted a trade, but I think they needed wings. I think they have really good guards and they have really good bigs, and you need wings. And Hunter at times can look like a really good wing. And if you're going to trade him, I think they should have got someone else who was like just as tall instead of Dennis Schroeder. I mean, if you're planning on playing James Harden and Donovan Mitchell this much, and apparently this trade, the James Harden trade has been kind of going on for weeks. So you knew this before because the Schroeder trade was a couple of days before. But yeah, you still trade for Dennis Schroeder. I just don't like that much. Because at least with Hunter, there's a chance that he is in the closing lineup. When fully healthy, Dennis Schroeder is never in the closing lineup. You cannot have James Harden or Donovan Mitchell at the 3. Or Schroeder at the 3. Even though OKC kind of did that with the Chris Paul, Shea, Dennis Schroeder lineups in OKC. So I like this for the Kings. You're kind of like buying low on DeAndre Hunter. And even if it doesn't work out, you can probably just trade him in the offseason. I don't like the Kings for other reasons in this trade deadline.
Yeah, I hate they're not selling,
But this trade specifically, I mean, but then again, you're selling Keon Ellis, who is young and has shown flashes. I'm giving every team a C in this trade.
yeah, I just sometimes things just happen, and that's the NBA for you.
Yeah.
I'd give every team a C in this trade too. I'd give the Bulls an F because I'm sick of seeing their name, but yeah, no, I'd give them a C.
And the next trade, I don't really want to talk about it, even though it does involve Hawks getting Jock Landale. I just wanted to talk about Lonzo Ball, how he was so bad that he has been traded and waived by the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. Another trade that happened, I don't know if you want to get into it, but Trace Jackson Davis went to the Raptors for a 2nd-round pick.
I hope he gets some more burn there. I think he's been a good center in his time with the Warriors, and I hope that he gets the opportunity to show that with the Raptors. And then Jose Alvarado to the Knicks.
I actually love this trade.
I love this trade for the Knicks. I really do like it. I think he fits perfectly on that bench. So
I think he is such a New York Knick. It just sucks that they already have 2 backup guards who could potentially, like, they've shown. I mean, Miles McBride's really good. He's obviously going to stay in the rotation. I've liked what I've seen from Tyler Kolek. I don't know if this is a move of like
Tyler Kolek, though, I did look at his stats. He has not been very good this year.
Really?
No.
I feel like he's an eye test guy.
Yeah.
What?
He's got some sneaky athleticism to him, I guess. He's shooting 42.3% from the field and 35.2% from 3. So not horrible.
It's not great. It's not good numbers. I guess if he is like kind of a defensive liability, you'd rather have Jose who's going to fight. He's going to get Madison Square Garden hyped.
Yeah, I can't
wait for that.
I really want next year, I want the Knicks to hold on to Jose Alvarado, and I want the Pacers to get good so I can see a Jose Alvarado TJ McConnell matchup in the conference finals.
Hell yeah. Oh, that'd be fire. Mm-hmm. And then last thing that happened, Chris Paul was traded to the Raptors for Ochai Agbaji. The fact that they got Ochai Agbaji for him is
Kind of crazy, yeah.
Because he's still a relatively
Like
young guy.
How did that? The Clippers just basically told Chris Paul to go home.
And you somehow got value for him. So that happened. That was pretty much all of the trades in the trade deadline. I don't think I missed anything.
Nope.
It'd be crazy if I missed some big trade, but I think that was it. So now
Steph Curry traded to the Warriors for, I don't know.
We can move on to the things that didn't happen because a lot of things didn't happen in this trade deadline. Let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo not being traded. And then later going on social media and saying, he said something like the greats recruit, they don't, no, the greats attract, they don't leave, or something like that. I just think it was pretty corny. I think it's insane how the Bucks got convinced that they'd be getting more trade value in the offseason than now. I don't know how true that is. I think the possibility of getting Giannis for one more half season, one more playoff run, means so much more than whatever you're going to get in the offseason, because his prime is going to come to an end pretty fast. I really think he only has like 2 or 3 years left in him. One, because of his play style, but just his injury history. He gets hurt every single year. He's missing a bunch of games every single year. And what does that say specifically, Kim? Legends don't chase.
Legends don't chase, they attract. And then it's the 1-minute clip from The Wolf of Wall Street where he gets up like he's going to quit the company. And then he goes, I'm not fucking leaving. That's basically like that. Anyway. Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting that because dude, we recorded this at 12:30 at night. I am like dead tired. But look.
Yeah, no, that's what that's what Giannis put out there.
I'm not complaining because I'm a Hawks fan.
The only thing I will, in terms of this thing, think about in a past sense is when Kobe Bryant in the late 2000s wanted to get traded from the Lakers, and it was a pretty public thing. Like he wanted to get traded. He said he wanted to get traded, and they ended up not trading him. They go on, they win 2 championships. Kobe Bryant becomes, probably the most iconic Laker of all time, right? So I think that this is not an unrecoverable situation. It's not an uncommon situation. I could very well see Giannis staying with the Bucks, right? And it really just is that we live in an era of social media where all this stuff gets put out there so easily for people to see. So I don't know. I think it's corny, what Giannis posted, but it's also like, if the Bucks can make it work, then great. But you have to make it work.
They're not going to make it work. They're not the Lakers. They can't attract talent. Giannis is not attracting talent.
But legends don't chase. They attract.
I guess it's his words, not mine, that he's not a legend. Because he's not going to attract. He has Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner. By the way, it is ridiculous that not only Giannis didn't get traded, but no one got traded on the Bucks besides like
Cole Anthony.
Are you kidding me? They could have... I'm not going to say... Honestly, they'd be kind of selling low a little bit, but they didn't sell on Miles Turner. They couldn't get anything for a Kyle Kuzma. This is the lineup they're running. And does this mean that Giannis is going to start playing every single game? Shouldn't the Bucks be trying to tank so that they can get as high of a pick as possible?
I think you said something that there were some reports that came out that Giannis was going to sit for the rest of the season. I honestly could see that happening. Legends don't chase, they attract. They attract high draft picks. They will be getting a high draft pick, I guess. So...
And what's Giannis going to do with a high draft pick? What's he going to do with a rookie next to him? Rookies are not winning players. You could maybe make an exception to like this season with Concredible and Cooper Flag. Besides those two, no matter how good of a rookie you are most likely a negative player.
Probably. Yeah, but I mean, when you talk about the rookies in this class, if they can get a top 3 pick somehow.
Dybonsta is not doing anything in this rookie season. Boozer probably not. Peterson maybe. I don't believe in rookies, and I think Giannis has a prime that is coming to an end. I don't like it. He's really good.
No, I don't mean I wish Giannis would have left. And I get why the Bucks didn't trade him because like the return they were going to get for him wasn't going to be great.
We're going to have a playoffs without Giannis. He's going to be sitting in Cancun like us. Well, I wish I was in Cancun.
My God, no, we don't got the money for that. I wish.
Soon, I guess,
support and subscribe. We're gonna open up a Patreon.
Cancun like can.
A can.
A Cancun. Yeah. The Bucks didn't trade anyone. What was also disappointing is the Sacramento Kings didn't trade anyone. They didn't trade DeMar DeRozan. They didn't trade Zach LaVine. You don't trade Russell Westbrook
because they're dumb.
It was just Dennis Schroeder.
They're a stupid team.
What are they? Sabonis was in all these trade rumors. Apparently, before AD, it was Sabonis in the rumors to go to the Washington Wizards.
I can't even imagine that Sacramento Kings fans are happy with the Sacramento Kings.
Do you think the league actually sees everyone on the Kings as a negative asset? Like maybe they just couldn't get anything for anyone.
I genuinely think that is the case, yeah.
Or do you think the Kings think that their players are so bad that they're helping the tank?
I think it's a combination of the fact that the Kings think their players are better than they are, and the rest of the league thinks their players are worse than they are.
And they just can't give it, which sucks because their players are on terrible contracts.
Would you stop looking at Tyler Kolek for like
No, I'm
5
gonna
seconds?
keep scrolling. I have nothing to look at. I'm camera shy. I don't like looking at the camera. But I think that was just so Sacramento of them to do. Super disappointing. I was kind of hoping that Zach LaVine or DeMar would go on a contending team. I don't know. Like that pisses me off. John Morant also didn't get traded.
That one I do get though, because at the end of the day, like his value was so tanked, and the reports were that the return for him was going to be less than the Trae Young trade. I get why if you're the Grizzlies, it's like, yeah, just keep him. You know.
Yeah.
There's more potential value and probably more inherent value for you keeping him than there would be for you trading
But
him.
why didn't Minnesota see any value? The Miami Heat didn't make a single trade. A single trade, not even a low trade. They are like a couple games above 500. Khalil Ware didn't get traded.
They love that plan. I look forward to it every year.
I think Sleepy Pat Riley just took another nap. Like that, they did the same thing.
Sleepy Pat Riley.
Yes, they did the same thing last year. They didn't make a single trade at the deadline last
They
year.
traded Jimmy.
Or maybe I might be thinking of the year before, because I know there was definitely a year they made no trades, which no team should ever do, unless you have everything rolling like OKC. And even OKC said, "Hey, we can upgrade our roster."
Of course, they don't want to make a trade. They're 3 games out of being the 11th seed, and they're 3.5 games out of, or they're 2.5 games out of being the 6th seed. They're exactly where they want to be.
The play-in.
Yeah.
So, dude, the Hawks fans were celebrating beating the Miami Heat because they were like, "We won the play-in championship."
We might be. I think we're getting a rematch this year.
I don't want to be in the
Hey,
play-in.
the
I'd
Hornets
rather miss the playoffs.
The Hornets
than be in
snatched the Bulls' chain.
Oh, are they the 10 seed now?
They're taking that play-in chain.
Dude, the last time the Hawks played the Hornets in the play-in, we beat them by like 40 in that game.
You know what's
I can't
crazy
wait.
is if Giannis does end up playing this season, the Hawks might have to play the Bucks in the play-in.
Yeah. Well, fuck it, dude. That would piss me off. The Bucks should be wanting to get a better pick.
The Milwaukee Giannis's.
They should be trying to lose. If they try to win, fuck
They're stupid.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the Wolves ended up doing all that, and they didn't end up making any trade for a John Morant or even just like an upgrade at point guard. I would assume it was cool. He's unproven though. We haven't seen him in a playoff setting, and that's the guy you want to trade for. I just don't understand that. I'm trying to think of someone. There was another team I wanted to talk about not making many moves, but I kind of forget.
Talked about the Bucks. Talked about the Kings.
I think that's kind of it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trade deadline, pretty disappointing, but also pretty entertaining at the same time. It just sucks that I think the trade deadline was cool, but it didn't affect too many like contending teams.
No, I really wanted to see a team like the Thunder made a pretty good move, but I wanted to see a team like the Spurs or the Nuggets really go all in to try to beat the Thunder, you know?
Yeah, and they didn't. I mean, think about the very top trade was between like a 15 seed and a 12 seed. The one after that, it's between the Cavs and the Clippers. And even then, it was kind of like they kind of got a similar player back. Like it doesn't change too much.
Yeah.
The Jazz went all in, but the Jazz are like the 14 seed in the West. The Warriors and the Hawks
buddy.
made a huge swap.
Hey, don't
play-in
make that
teams?
mistake. We know who the 14th seed in the West is. And it's them damn New Orleans Pelicans. Chain snatched. February 9th. Mark your calendars.
My Super Bowl will be after the real Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then it was just a bunch. I wish that the trade deadline actually affected these teams that were in the playoffs. Personally, but I don't know. Can't complain.
No.
Anything else you want to kind of talk about?
No, dude, I'm sick of hearing the word Bulls. That's all I gotta say.
Comment Bulls in the comment section.
God
just
damn
to
it.
piss Cam off. Just
Stop.
to trigger him.
Stop.
If you made it this far and do it, you're a real one. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
But yeah, I think that's all we have. We just want to do a quick trade deadline special. It is about 12:40 in the night, in the morning.
2:40 Eastern time.
2:40 Eastern time.
Yeah.
We are Mountain Time. We are weird. We live in Utah.
Yep.
But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment Bulls. Piss him off.
Yeah.
And you got anything else to say besides that?
Bulls really need a guard.
Why didn't they trade it for a guard at the deadline?
I don't
That's
know,
so
man.
weird.
It's so weird. I mean, they traded away Kobe White. They really needed someone to replace him.
Peace out.